Hey everyone. Today on the menu, auxiliary raising. This is an appropriate subject to tackle right now just after we have dealt with head movements. And auxiliary raising, as you will see later, is part of or one type of head movements. Without further ado, let's get right into it. So the two examples, again, we're taking everything in this series of videos from Andrew Radford's book published in 2004, at least the edition that I have. And the first sentence that we are gonna deal with is he will not be sick. So if we are gonna draw a tree diagram rather than write for this sentence, how would it look like? First, I start from the bottom as always. I have an adjective which is heading its own phrase. So I start from the bottom with my adjective phrase, make sure that my face is not covering anything as always. And this time I have managed to show the cursor as I am writing. Oh, of course my face is covering things up. So we have our adjective phrase, and then we have our VP, and then it will give us our V. And these elements are basically the adjective sick, and then our verb in this case is the verb to be. Now after this we have a negative phrase. At this point in the book they have not yet dealt with negative phrases and how we deal with them, but I'll give you a little bit of a spoiler here because I am gonna do it the way literally the next section will be doing it. So basically the negative phrase is headed by a head, abstract head in case of modern English, and it is a negative phrase that is its own projection, and usually the not that we usually see is considered to be the specifier of the negative phrase. So far this part over here, do not focus too much on it. We just need to deal with the negative because there's something intervening right in the middle between the V or the VP and between the TP as we shall see higher, and basically we just wanted to do it the way it should be instead of lying to you and doing it in a way and changing it later. Anyways, I move on. After this we finally reach our T bar, and our T bar gives us our T, and in the T finally we have the modal will. So will not be sick, he will not be sick. So if we continue with this to the TP, we will land on a pronoun in this case, and the pronoun itself will be he. So simple. In this sentence what we have is a normal derivation. You have an adjective phrase, you have the verb be in this case, and then the negative phrase whose head is abstract, specifier is not, and then will in the T, and then he. Everything seems in order. In this scenario, in this case, the sentence is non-finite, or it's an infinitive sentence because the T has will, so the verb is not really conjugated. We call this sentence an infinitive sentence. As we know in the English language, if a verb comes after the modal, the verb itself does not carry any tense. And so what we can say about this sentence is the following. So we can say that be is in VP when infinitive. The be is in the VP, it's right over here, when we are dealing with an infinitive sentence. So this is where it is. Now this sentence is infinitive because it has will. What happens if the sentence is not if the sentence is not infinitive? And that sentence is he is not sick. So all of a sudden the be is conjugated now. So this is a finite sentence. How would the tree diagram of such a sentence look like? Bearing in mind that this is how the infinitive sentence looks like. Now I'm going to try and make this tree a little bit smaller so that we can fit the other tree just next to us. Give me one moment. Okay, so I was surprised. I'm actually able to select things and make them smaller. So anyways, let's continue. So our second sentence is he is not sick. So I'm looking at this sentence now. He is not sick. Now this is a finite sentence. So let's see how the structure will change. Let's get started. So same thing, we are starting with an adjective in this case. So we're just gonna give it its own phrase, and then adjective itself is heading the phrase. We move to the VP and then the V, and these two will be sick and then be, and I move up, similar structure. We have the neg bar, then we have the head, then the head neg is not headed by anything, it's abstract in English. Then, oh, that's a funny shape because I did change the software so that it kind of completes the shapes that I intend to draw, but sometimes it messes it up. I continue here with the neg P, and then the adverb, which is the particle not in the English language. And this is where some interesting stuff is going to happen. So I have a T bar, and then I have a T. So what happens in this case, the tense in here, as you know, the tense is affixual in nature. It needs to be attached to something. So what happens in this scenario is a movement. So the V, which is headed here, which has the verb be in it in this case, what will happen to it is that it will move from that position to where the T is. So it will move right over here. And we saw last time that movement is actually a composite operation which has two steps. First one is copy. So the B will be copied in here. Let's use the same color for consistency. The B will be copied in here. And then the second step is delete. So we're going to delete it from here. So then the B, once it arrives in here, of course we have tense here, so the B will not look like this anymore. It will bear the tense that is carried by the head. And the tense that is carried by the head transforms it into is. And then in the end you have he is not sick. I'm always running out of room, but if I were to continue this one, TP PRN, then the pronoun in this case will be he. So that's pretty much it. Let me make this one smaller, put it next to its sister, and then we look at both trees and see what happens. What happened? Okay, we're back. As you can see here, we have both sentences. Each sentence has its tree under it, and in the case where the verb be is finite in the second example that we've done, what we say is be moves to TP when finite. So be, what we call in syntax, in situ, which means the original position before any movement, which is referred to as in situ. The in situ position is the head of the VP, but because we need to move this head to where the tense is strong, where it needs to be attracted, that ends up on the T. So this is a general rule for the verb to be in the English language. There are more things that we will discuss right after this, and it will make things more apparent when it comes to dealing with these kind of special verbs in the English language. I move on to the second section of what I want to show you today. Okay, so our next example is they may not be understanding this. And of course, we're not talking about you. You do understand what we're talking about. Just like we did with the previous two examples, we'll take this one and make a tree diagram for this sentence. Now here we have, it's quite busy with verbs and particles. If you look at what I have here, look, we have a verb, we have be, and then we have may. We have a model and another verb. So what are we going to call this verb? What phrase will it be heading? And how about this one? What phrase will it be heading? Is it going to be the T? Is it going to be something else? Well, let's have a look. Let's make this tree diagram. Okay, I'll stick to the same colors for consistency. We start with a determiner phrase here. This is a determiner phrase headed by this. Then we jump straight to a VP in this case, and this VP will be the verb untamed, but the DP will be this. This is a short one. It's short, yet I can't write it without going behind where my face is. Okay, great handwriting. I move on. After this, just like before we go to the negative phrase here, we have be, and as you can see, B cannot be on the V, but B cannot be on the T either, because T most likely will have may in it. So here's where the auxiliary phrase comes in. So the auxiliary phrase is a phrase headed by the auxiliary itself. It's written like this usually, AUXP, and then it's headed by AUX or aux or auxiliary, whatever you want to call it. And this auxiliary in our scenario is the verb to be. Then after this, we're going to go into that whole shenanigans of the neg bar, and then the neg head, and then the neg p, and then the adverb, and all of this for nothing because it's empty. And it's not empty, it's just we can't see it. We talked about null and the heads that we can't see, yet they affect the sentence in every possible way you could think of. Anyways, I continue. Finally, I reach my T bar here. I go to my T, and then I go to my TP, and I stop the derivation here because there's no need for us to go to the higher CP. And what's not? This will be our pronoun, and let's continue with what we do have in these places. So here we have the modal may in the tense, and then here we will have they. And if we look at the sentence, it looks like they may not be understanding. In this scenario, we had to use an auxiliary phrase because we didn't have any room for be to be. Plus, be is positioned under not, as you can see, and we can't really mess up the word order if we want to put it higher in the T, or so it needs to be right after the negative particle, or the negative head, and the verb itself, the main verb itself. Sometimes I personally feel like whenever in syntax we can't find the place to fit something, you either, I don't want to say make up a new phrase, but you do resort to the traditional grammar way of naming things, and then you create a head. And splitting things always is a great solution, which has led to the theory going into some branches like nanosyntax, where everything is splitted into smaller heads and smaller heads and smaller heads. It's quite a fascinating field. If you have time, you can look into it. But for now, let's do this. First do this, then you can go into a nanosyntax. But anyways, bottom line is, we have a new phrase, auxiliary phrase, and it's saving the day, because now we can we have a head where the be can go, because it's quite busy. There's a verb, there's a model in the tense, there's a negative phrase. Madness. All right, now let's move to the second example and see how different it is. Our second sentence / example is, they are not understanding this. How is this different? What is missing here? The model may is missing, so the T is empty. What's going to happen when the T is empty? You guessed it. It's going to attract the closest possible head that can be attracted. What is it going to be in this case? Let's stop talking and show it. Actually, it might be smarter to just copy the tree and then change what's under some, but I'm taking the longer way here, because copying is smarter, and I am not known for doing smart things. Okay, I think I might want to get rid of that fix my writing thing, because it just messes it up. I write P and the software thinks I'm drawing a triangle. This software must be on something. Anywho, let me continue. So we have this, then we have our verb, which was understanding. Very long verb. Done. We run out of room. Hyphen. Go back to the line. ing. Our auxiliary in this case is the verb to be. And we continue the sentence. We're gonna go to the neg bar, and then our head neg, and then our neg p, and then our adverb, which is not in this case. Maybe it's good to repeat these things so that they stick better with you. Maybe you let me know. Okay, I move on. What's after this? A T bar, and then a T. Can you still see everything? It looks like it. And then a TP, and then a PRN. We have a problem here. The T is empty, but the T has something special. The T cannot attract main verb or main verbs unless it's the verb to be, like we've seen in the previous example, that benefits from being in a special status of having that possible. But the T has something that is quite unique in modern English. And what I'm talking about, if you remember in Shakespearean English, we saw that verbs have a strong E feature, which means they were able to attract verbs into T. That's why we were able to see sentences like, I care not something, something, something. So this care is in the T position, and it's been moved from its V position all the way to the T, because in Elizabethan English, V had a strong feature, the T had a strong V feature. So the T had a strong V feature, so it contracted. In modern English, we don't have something like that. The T does not have a strong V feature, but it has something else that is strong. It is weak, but not that weak. And in modern English, that thing which is strong is the T has a strong ox feet. I need to applaud this. Problem solved. So, what do we mean by a T has a strong ox feature? It means that if the T is empty, it will attract the closest head auxiliary to it, that its C commands, of course. And if we look at our sentence, there's only one candidate that fits the criteria, and that candidate is this B over here. So the B will be moved where? The B will be moved to satisfy the strong ox feature. The B will be moved. But as we said, and I shall repeat it again, move is not just move, it's copy and delete. It's been copied, then it needs to be deleted in its original position. And the B, once it's copied, it attaches to the tense, then it takes the features of the tense. The feature copying thing happens. I have one video about feature copying, you can have a look at it. And what we will end up with here is are, because a pronoun in the feature copying process is a pronoun that has 5 features, or person and number features for plural. So here we have are, and then here we have they. I should have done the they before, but anyways, you get the idea. The final answer is they are not understanding this, and that's pretty much it with auxiliary raising. So you see the auxiliary raises onto the T, attaches to it, takes the tense from there, takes the inflection from there, because T in modern English has a strong auxiliary feature. That is pretty much it. So what we can say about the first example that we've done, we say that be is in auxiliary. First of all, we established that they may not be understanding this, the be is in the auxiliary. Now that changes when may is not occupied. May needs something to be under it, and that changes by the be moving to the TP, or being raised to the TP. Could be rather a fitter description, I should say. I think we are almost done. In conclusion, we can if we can remember these two things, then we've aced this lesson. First one is T in present day English has a strong auxiliary feature. Simple. Therefore, an auxiliary will be moved to the T if that position is empty. The other thing is auxiliaries are verbs which do not function as predicates. So they're more of like dummies. To distinguish between auxiliaries and main verbs, auxiliaries do not predicate. They don't assign theta roles and cases and what's not. We shall talk about theta roles and cases in due time. Plus, I talked about feature evaluation in one of my videos. I advise you to check the playlist and see if you can. I'm sure you will find a video and see if you can keep up with what's there. Just one last thing before I finish this. I did talk about successive cyclic movements in my last video. For the sake of simplicity, I didn't want to use the neg head in our case here as a landing head before I move to the next one, and so on and so forth. Just remember that in the book they don't even go into the detail regarding negative phrases at this stage, but I just wanted to add it there. But if you know what successive cyclic movement is, and you know that this is an empty head, and you know about the strict cyclicity principle, which means it needs to be cyclic, you can't really jump over empty heads, you'll know what I skipped and why I skipped it. And I did it again for the sake of brevity and simplicity. I don't want to confuse you. The topic of this lesson has been covered. You should be able to understand and do exercises with this. If you have any questions, you can always let me know in the comments. If you have any video recommendations, you can also let me know and I'll try to help you. Share the video with your classmates, with your friends. Make sure to subscribe to keep up. Whether you're a student, whether you've already graduated and you're trying to dust off your skills a little bit every now and then, I have some ideas, and once I have time, I might be able to expand on this project a little bit. I'm thinking about doing live sessions where we can go through exercises together live. I'll be able to answer questions and explain things on the fly, which might be useful for many of you. Let me know what you think about this idea if you ever get to the end of the video, and subscribe, comment, hit the like button, share with your friends, and I'll see you on the next one. I'm out.